moved into a ground floor apartment in February. It was cheap, quiet, and the landlord said the unit above me had been empty for months. For the first 2 weeks, I heard nothing. Then one night around 2 a.m., I woke up to footsteps. Slow, deliberate steps moving from one end of the ceiling to the other. I assumed someone had finally moved in and went back to sleep. The footsteps became a nightly thing, always between 2 and 3 a.m. Always the same pattern, walking from the bedroom area to what I assumed was the kitchen, then back. I never heard furniture moving, no TV, no voices, just footsteps. After a week, I mentioned it to my landlord. He looked at me strangely and said the apartment upstairs was still vacant. He offered to let me go up and check. We climbed the stairs together, and he unlocked the door. The apartment was completely empty. Dust covered the floors. No furniture, no signs anyone had been there in months. But that night, the footsteps came back. Same time, same pattern. I started recording them on my phone. The audio was clear. You could hear each step, the slight creak of floorboards. I played it for my landlord the next day. He listened, said he'd look into it, and never brought it up again. The footsteps continued every night. I started timing them. They lasted exactly 17 minutes. I tried going upstairs during the sounds, but my key didn't work for that unit anymore. The landlord said he'd changed the locks for security reasons. 3 weeks in, the pattern changed. The footsteps stopped at what I calculated was directly above my bed. They stayed there for a full minute. Then they resumed the usual path. The next night, they stopped above my bed again. This time for 5 minutes. I started sleeping on the couch. The footsteps adjusted. Now they stopped above the couch. I looked up the building's history online. Found an old newspaper article from 8 years ago. A graduate student had lived in the upstairs apartment. She disappeared one winter. Police found no evidence of foul play. The article mentioned she worked night shifts and usually got home around 2 a.m. I knocked on my neighbors' doors. Most hadn't heard anything. One older woman, 3 units down, asked if I was hearing the walking. She'd heard it years ago when she lived in my unit. That's why she moved. Last week, something new happened. I was lying awake at 1:45 a.m., waiting. The footsteps started early, 1:50 a.m. They followed the same path, but this time I heard something else. A soft, dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor. Then the footsteps came down the stairs. I heard them in the hallway, outside my door. They stopped right outside. I could see the shadow of feet blocking the light under my door. I held my breath. My phone was across the room. I stayed frozen on the couch. After 3 minutes, the footsteps walked back upstairs. The apartment door opened and closed. Then silence. The next morning, I found something outside my door. A small pile of dust. The same dust from the empty apartment upstairs. It was arranged in the shape of footprints, pointing toward my door. I asked my landlord about breaking my lease. He said there would be a penalty. He also mentioned that the upstairs apartment is being shown to potential tenants next week. He seemed relieved about that. Last night, the footsteps stopped above my bed for 20 minutes. I didn't move. I barely breathed. Tonight, they haven't started yet. It's 2:17 a.m. as I write this. I'm sitting on my couch, lights on, door locked. The building is completely silent. But 5 minutes ago, I heard my upstairs neighbor's apartment door unlock and open. I heard it close softly. Now I'm waiting. The footsteps should start any moment. They always do. But this time, I think they're already inside the building. I think they've been getting closer each night, stopping longer, adjusting to where I am. I just heard something, not from above, from my own apartment. A soft creak from my bedroom, the one I stopped using. The footsteps aren't upstairs anymore. I drive a delivery route that takes me through rural Montana. Same roads, same stops, 5 nights a week. There's a stretch of highway with nothing for 40 miles, except one gas station at mile marker 77. I've stopped there maybe twice in 3 years. It's old, poorly lit, and the guy who works there never speaks. But last month, my fuel light came on at mile marker 65, and I didn't have a choice. I pulled in just after midnight. One other car was parked by the air pump, empty. The fluorescent lights inside flickered. I went in, prepaid for gas, and the clerk, a different guy than usual, younger, watched me the whole time without blinking. When I asked if the bathroom was available, he said, "Don't go in the back." I didn't ask why. I pumped my gas and left. 2 weeks later, I had to stop again. Same time, just past midnight. This time the parking lot was empty. The same young clerk was there. When I walked in, he was staring at the back door, the one marked employees only. I grabbed a coffee and paid. As I turned to leave, he said, "You hear anything you don't check, you leave." I asked what he meant. He didn't answer, just stared at that back door. I left and sat in my truck, engine running. That's when I heard it, a loud bang from inside the station, like something heavy falling. I looked through the windows. The clerk was gone. The register was open, cash drawer out. The back door was slightly ajar. I should have driven away. Instead, I went back inside. The bell above the door chimed, too loud in the silence. I called out. No answer. The back door was open, about 6 inches. A dim hallway stretched behind it. I heard a shuffling sound, then a low murmur, like someone talking, but too quiet to make out words. I pushed the door open. The hallway led to a storage room. Boxes of inventory, a desk with paperwork, a time clock on the wall. The murmuring stopped. In the corner, I saw the clerk. He was facing the wall, standing perfectly still. I said his name. It was on his name tag, Derek. He didn't turn around. I asked if he was okay. He raised one hand slowly and pointed at the wall. There was nothing there, just cinder blocks painted white. Then he said, "He's been here since Tuesday." I asked who. Derek didn't answer. He lowered his hand and walked past me, back to the front counter, moving stiffly like he was afraid to make noise. I followed. He sat down on the stool behind the register and stared straight ahead. I asked what was going on. He said, "You need to leave now. Don't come back at night." I left. As I pulled onto the highway, I checked my rearview mirror. Derek was standing in the doorway, watching my truck. The lights inside the station went out. The next week, I planned my route to skip that station. But I got delayed at a stop, and my fuel ran low again. It was 1 a.m. when I reached mile marker 77. The gas station was open, but the lights were dimmer than usual. No cars in the lot. I pulled up to the pump and looked inside. A different clerk, an older woman, sat behind the counter. She was reading a magazine and didn't look up. I went inside to prepay. She took my cash without a word. As I turned to leave, I asked if Derek still worked here. She looked up slowly and said, "We don't have anyone by that name." I described him. She shook her head. "No one like that works here. Just me and Al works days." I asked who was working 2 weeks ago. She said she'd been on nights alone for 6 months. I walked back to my truck. As I pumped gas, I looked through the windows again. The woman was gone. The back door was wide open. I could see into the hallway. Someone was standing there, too far back to see clearly. They were facing the wall. My gas finished. I got in my truck and drove. Last night, I had to stop there again. Fuel light on, no choice. It was midnight exactly when I pulled in. The station was dark, completely dark, but the open sign was lit. I sat there for 5 minutes, debating. Finally, I got out. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open. No lights, just the glow from the coolers along the back wall. I used my phone's flashlight. The register was open again. Empty. I called out. My voice echoed wrong, like the space was bigger than it should be. The back door was open. I could see my flashlight beam stretching down the hallway. And at the end, someone was standing there, facing me this time. I left without getting gas. Made it to the next town on fumes. Tonight I'm driving the same route. It's 11:30 p.m. Mile marker 77 is 20 minutes away. My fuel light just came on. 3 months ago, I started getting voicemails from myself. Not someone pretending to be me, my actual voice, my phone number, showing up as missed calls. The first one came on a Tuesday night. I was at home, phone on the coffee table. It didn't ring. But 10 minutes later, a notification popped up. Voicemail from my own number. I played it. It was my voice, but the words didn't make sense. I was saying, "Don't go downstairs. Stay in the living room. Don't look at the window. I checked my call log. It showed I'd called myself at 9:47 p.m. I was staring at my phone at 9:47 p.m. I didn't make a call. I deleted it and assumed it was some kind of spam spoof. But the next night, another voicemail. Same number, same voice. This time I was saying, check the door lock. Check it twice. Don't open it when he knocks. No one knocked. I called my service provider. They confirmed the calls were coming from my number, but couldn't explain how. They suggested I change my number. I didn't. The voicemails came every night for a week. Each one was a warning or instruction. Don't answer the door. Turn off the lights in the bedroom. Move the chair away from the desk. I started following the instructions. I don't know why. They felt urgent. On the 8th night, the voicemail said, leave the house at 11 p.m. Walk to the corner. Wait there for 12 minutes. I left. I stood on the corner in the cold, checking my watch. At 11 p.m., a car ran a red light and crashed into a truck 1 block down. If I'd been walking my usual route home from the store, I would have been at that intersection. After that, I listened to every voicemail. They were always warnings, always accurate. Don't drive tomorrow. The next day, black ice caused a pileup on my route to work. Stay home Friday night. Friday night, there was a break-in 3 houses down. I started trusting the voice completely. It was me, somehow. It had to be. Then 2 weeks ago, the voicemails changed. My voice, started giving instructions that didn't make sense. Put your wallet in the freezer. Write down this number, 9418822. Leave your back door unlocked tonight. I didn't follow those. They felt wrong. The next voicemail was angry. My voice, but frustrated, almost shouting, you need to listen. You're running out of time. Do exactly what I say. I stopped listening to them. Let them pile up in my inbox. But they kept coming, every night, sometimes twice a night. 4 days ago, I made a mistake. I was half asleep and played one by accident. My voice said, go to the basement. There's a box behind the water heater. Open it. I don't have a basement. I live in a single-story house. But the next morning, I noticed something. My neighbor's house, the one that shares my back fence, has a basement. And they're out of town. I ignored it. But that night, another voicemail. You didn't check the basement. You need to check the basement. It's not too late. I deleted it. Last night, the voicemail was different. It was still my voice, but it sounded tired, defeated. It said, I tried to help you. I tried to warn you. But you stopped listening. Now I don't know what happens next. I'm sorry. Then this morning, something arrived in my mailbox. A small padded envelope, no return address. Inside was a phone, an old flip phone, powered off, and a note in my handwriting. This is the phone you'll use to call yourself. You'll understand in 4 days. I haven't turned it on. I don't want to. But tonight, I got another voicemail. This time it just said, "It starts tomorrow, 3 a.m. You'll wake up. You'll know what to do. Please trust me. Trust yourself. I'm not going to sleep tonight." I'm sitting here with all the lights on, both phones in front of me. The flip phone and my regular one. It's 2:51 a.m. I keep thinking about all the warnings that were right. The accident, the break-in, the ice. What if this is the same? My regular phone just lit up. Incoming call from my own number. It's ringing right now. The flip phone is still off. I'm the only one here. I don't know if I should answer. The ringing stopped. New voicemail. I'm afraid to play it. But the preview text just appeared on my screen. Pick up next time. We're running out of chances. He's already inside. I just heard something from my bedroom. A sound like a phone ringing. But both phones are here with me. It's coming from inside the walls.